Hello everybody, and it's me, Alan. And as you just saw there ain't no glitch. But in your systems, on mine, I just had to go track back and this is about it. We're gonna start the video. For reals. Sorry, this is copyrighted. I'm probably gonna get copyrighted. So many copyrights up my butt.
Hello, guys and gals, and welcome back to another Lost Episode Creepypasta. Yes, the series where we take a look at your favorite television shows, and the idea that there is an episode of it that would be a little too morbid. We've covered SpongeBob SquarePants, The Simpsons, and even Ed, Edd and Eddy. Now we're covering the amazing world of Gumball, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this Lost episode. I've always loved Cartoon Network. When I was growing up, it was my favorite channel to watch. Even today, it has some good shows, like Adventure Time and Regular Show. One of the newest shows on the network, The Amazing World of Gumball, is a cute and mildly entertaining show. Not really my cup of tea, it's a little immature, but my little brother seems to like it a lot. So one day I was watching Adult Swim when I realized that I'd been up so late that I hadn't even kept track of the time. It was already...
Is this gonna be good? Is it? Or is it just gonna be some crappy thing? As some YouTubers say when they're probably reviewing something. Jump cut! Do.
The particular scene wasn't like anything I'd seen on the show before. Every little detail on Darwin's face was clearly illustrated. He looked a little like a zombie. His face was very pale, and his eyes had been gouged out by someone. And A's fared no better, or what was left of her anyway. She was naked, and her stomach had been slit open. Her intestines were strewn around the trees and bushes in the wood, done once again in this very morbid and realistic fashion. I was feeling very ill by the time this incredibly disturbing flashback had come to an end, so I quickly ran to the back.
Wow. I wonder how they do this. Like for the whole editing thing. Well, I'm using my phone to do this. It's good.
Bathroom to vomit. I was feeling rather like I was feeling better after this upchucking. So I realized that I had good timing and I had to run to the bathroom during this commercial. It was then I noticed that the show had been running twice as long. It usually runs for 11 minutes, but the show was running for about 30. By then I was wondering if there was any information on The Grieving on IMDb or something. So while the commercials were still playing, I looked up some information about this episode on Google. Nothing comes up. No information remotely similar to the plot or name of this episode existed anywhere. Now incredibly scared and wondering if anyone else was watching, I quickly dialed my brother Larry and asked him to turn on Cartoon Network to see if he was seeing the same shit that I was. He was pretty mad that I woke him up at this hour, but he's a nice guy and he told me that he would, see for me. I thanked him, stayed on the line as the show came back from commercial break. The scene had thankfully panned away from the horrific sight of the children mutilated and was back to the principal's office. I asked Larry if he saw some cartoon animals talking or crying, since that's what they were doing on my TV. To my surprise, he said he saw nothing like that. Instead, it was a rerun of an old Looney Tunes short. In utter shock, I dropped the phone and ran over to the TV to turn it off. As hard as I pressed the buttons, it would not shut off at all. I tried every single button. None of them did a damn thing. I tried unplugging the whole thing as well, but nothing worked. The TV stayed on no matter what I did. Larry hung up, assuming that I was playing a joke or something, I guess. And I was alone once again. My door was locked from the outside somehow, and the door to my bathroom was now locked as well. It seemed I had no choice but to call the police, since my other family members were gone that night. It was a reason I could stay up so late to watch Adult Swim in the first place, so when I hurriedly dialed the number, I accidentally dropped my cell phone into the cup of Pepsi. I was very scared, and I had no choice but to finish that episode, turn on all the lights in my room, got under the covers, hiding like my little brother does when I make him watch scary movies with me. I had apparently missed a little bit, but Gumball's parents were still talking to Principal Brown, so not that much. Nicole was asking him if Gumball was alright, apparently since she hadn't remembered him when Principal Brown told her what happened to Darwin and A's. He looked slightly confused and shocked for a moment, and explained to her that he thought Gumball was out sick today, and he spent the day at home by himself with the stomach bug. Nicole screamed and wailed, while Richard quietly told him in a very out-of-character voice that they thought Gumball had got on the bus this morning. But it didn't seem that way. The police were called once again to search the building in the small forest outside of Elmore Junior High. They had found him in Miss Semane's classroom, hanging by a noose, with a blood-covered knife behind him and blood covering his clothing. The episode ended with a shot of Gumball's dead body hanging there in a corner fading to black. The credits rolled silently. Not like the usual way of Cartoon Network annoyingly airing a promo that squishes half the screen. These credits rolled unusually slow, and they weren't that fun to watch either. A little creepy, just plain white text scrolling on a black background when you think about it. I only recognized Ben Boca Quellet's name, as he was the creator of the show. The rest were people I've never heard of. The copyright notice at the end.
Now, let me talk about this crap here. You know YouTube is pretty much dead, right? If you be watching this video. Yeah. There's no bad words in it, because I just want to get in crap in trouble, and...
At Cartoon Network Studios 2001, which was incredibly odd, seeing as the show was new for 2011. After all that was clearly over, the screen went to static for a split second, during which some incredibly creepy and these shocking video clips were shown during static intervals. I still remember them all very clearly. The first was a picture of a person in his Plague Doctor outfit, the one with the bird-style face. Those always scared me for some reason, and the way that person in the suit was filmed was just as bad. A red light, something that freaks me out incredibly, was shown over the clip. The next was what seemed like a video being played very quickly, over and over of a kitten's face being squished by a woman wearing high heels, which is strange because a so-called friend of mine sent me a picture yesterday of a cat being stepped on and killed, similar to the kitten in the video. The last one was the one that disturbed me the most. It made me want to cry and vomit my guts out. It was my little brother, or at least a small child who looked very similar to him, being shot in the face by a person who looked like my father. You could clearly see the child's brain and blood splatter all over the wall. I began to sob uncontrollably after that traumatizing clip. So much so that I passed out. When I woke up, my door was unlocked, and my television was turned off. I went to call the police on the home phone in my kitchen and report that I had seen some very disturbing things on television, and that my doors had been locked. When they arrived, they could find, nothing like what I remembered, from earlier this morning. My internet history was even cleared. They were angry at me, and just assumed that I had had a bad nightmare, when I was sure I hadn't. Thankfully, one of the officers felt bad for me and took me out to a small diner so I could recollect my thoughts. At the diner, I remembered that my family was out visiting my aunt, and they were supposed to be back by noon, or so. It was already 11, so the officer and I drove back only to find a whole squad of police cars and even some government agents at my house. They explained to me that my little brother was missing and that my mother and father were major suspects. Yeah, I was freaking out and trying to tell them about the disturbing clip of the boy who looked like my brother being shot in the head, but they wouldn't listen. I stayed with my older brother, Larry, who wouldn't believe me either, still insisting that, all he saw was an old Looney Tunes cartoon, nothing creepy or weird. The cops eventually told me that they would contact Turner Broadcasting and tell them about the incident. A representative from Turner Broadcasting came to my cousin's house to talk to me in private about what I had seen and experienced that night. He was very kind, but it all seemed a little like some sort of front. After I could tell him all I remembered, he agreed to play back that day's programming from when the incident with the disturbing Gumball episode had occurred. To my shock, all that was airing at the time was an old Looney Tunes short, nothing more, nothing less. I hysterically sobbed and moaned that what I had experienced and seen was completely real. But no one listened. Eventually, I discovered that Ben Bocellet had a Twitter account, so I sent a message about the episode, and this is the reply I got. One thing, how in the heck did you find that? I never, ever, ever thought that I would think about that old shame again. Don't tell anyone this, Sarah. Yeah, that's my name, Sarah. But the amazing world of Gumball goes back further. I used to have a really boring job as a teen, and I sketched little drawings of the Wattersons and friends. The episode you saw was never supposed to be seen by anyone but me and a few friends of mine. It was a very, very awful thing to do, but we made the episode as a joke. A guy from my old job, who everyone hated, had lost a child to a crazed serial killer who is still apparently out there somewhere. Anyways, we made it so we could make fun of how he came into work usually, crying like a fool, which is why you saw Mr. and Mrs. Watterson cry so much in the episode. I know. I'm deeply sorry for what I did, which is why I tried to bury that stupid thing years ago. Literally, I went out into the countryside with my mates and dug a hole and buried it. What I don't get, though, is how you describe the blood and guts and stuff. We didn't have any scene from Darwin and Inase's bodies being found. All that happens in the episode is the parents are informed of the kids being found dead and them crying like crazy. We didn't draw anything in the episode like that at all. We're not that sick. Now, this is my theory. The lunatic who killed the man's child found the tape we buried, watched it, heavily edited it. Then he hijacked a local TV station near... You don't need to know where I live. Somehow. and got to the episode on the air on your local Cartoon Network station. Now, while your
Dang,
brother,
Tristan,
I have no idea.
sound like someone
Well, it
killing
seems
each
you're the
other.
only one who saw it.
For
I have
real,
no idea
bro.
either. Sorry, but I just don't know. Now, for the explanation you've been waiting for, the clips at the end, I do not know. I don't. I'm deeply sorry, from the bottom of my heart. But I don't know why those clips were aired. I just don't. I'm sorry, I really am. But me and my mates are just the ones who made those scenes with Richard and Nicole crying. That's it. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm deeply sorry. Best wishes, Ben, Bill Kellett, and everyone involved with the grieving. Well, we haven't had a Lost episode creepypasta in a while, so how was that? Pretty nice length, but the tale itself was kind of an on and off thing for me. Now, if you don't know what I really hard do in real life is video editing for in real life world. So when I come across
Everything.
Sorry,
guys.
Or anything that's morbid, but the whole animation style with the Flash and CGI, you sort of see it as different animation styles tossed together, which is really nice to see. And if you haven't seen the show, you should definitely go check it out. But if you notice, the whole phenomenon. Our protagonist is getting a special.
Well, guys, I think we've had enough of today. And, guys, yeah, as y'all were hearing that, my brother, the big butthole that he is.
Alan, that's not actually your talk.
What?
That's not actually your talk. Talk your normal way.
Dude, I can talk all I want. Get out of here. So, guys, sorry about this. Brother's a big butt loony.
Well, because I don't even have a daggone charger.
And, Tristan's just angry because he can't charge his phone. You know? Tomorrow I'm gonna be going.
To school?
Yeah.
You idiot.
And yes, I am in 5th grade. And I'm making crapping videos. Wow. Simply astonishing. For God's sake. A fifth-year-old. And I'm like crapping 12. I weigh 244 pounds. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Well, my sister's dead.
It's Cora, not Alyssa.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We all know.
You shouldn't have spoke that. You should delete that video.
Dude, I'm still doing it.
Oh, crap. Now they heard me. I'm probably good at videos.
Goodbye, guys. Oh, yeah, my sister did die, though. Pray. Yep. Well, we couldn't do the whole thing. Goodbye, guys.